You said that the starting point for reparations for foundational Black Americans is $20 trillion.
Yes.
Now, full disclosure, I remember a while back, I think this was maybe after our interview, I said, I support reparations for Black people, possibly in the form of free education. And people got on me on that.
As they should. They should have gotten your ass.
And my justification was, well, I don't think that America can come up with what they really should pay without bankrupting the country. After that happened, it was after our interview, because now I'm figuring out the timeline. Then COVID hit, and I saw the type of checks that America was handing out.
Yeah.
So I publicly said, I apologize. I misspoke.
Yes.
I've said this
now,
publicly.
how do you feel about reparations right now to foundational Black?
I'm all for it.
Okay. In the form of cash.
Yes.
Okay.
I've said this publicly.
Okay.
Listen, we all make mistakes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We all say something, and then, my whole thing is, we all make mistakes, but if there's new information, you should absorb it and potentially modify your stance. New information came in. I saw what happened during COVID and how trillions of dollars were, I don't know about trillions, but billions of dollars were handed out. And I'm like, okay, there really is the money for this.
Absolutely.
When they need it.
Over in the Ukraine, they're sending billions to the Ukraine.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, my original thought was off. And I publicly said I'm wrong. And I do actually believe in cash.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? The amount, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I felt, I admitted I was wrong.
Yes.
And I'll stand on being wrong.
There you go.
And I'd rather,
Vlad has admitted he was wrong about reparations.
Right. Well, I'd rather admit that I'm wrong than to not grow as a human being.
Right.
To just sit there and come up with excuses and so forth.
Yes, indeed.
Now you said that reparations should look the same way as they do with Native Americans.
Yep.
Checks, land grants, tax-free, casinos, own their own police force and hospitals. But to be fair,
yes,
Native Americans have the highest poverty rate of any racial group in the United States. According to the 2021 U.S. Census, 12.4% of Native Americans and Native Alaskans live in poverty compared to 11.3% of blacks, 11.2% of Hispanics, 5.7% of white non-Hispanics. And the poverty rate is actually even higher for Native Americans who live on reservations, which is as high as 36%. So my thing is that if you're trying to model this after Native Americans, it worked out very poorly for them.
No, because, man, some of those Native Americans, and I've been on some of those lands and those reservations, they got beautiful schools. I was in Arizona. They got schools, hospitals, police forces over there. They're doing absolutely fine. They got them casinos that are raking in all types of money. They bring in millions of dollars in those casinos. They're bringing in the Whispers and Evelyn Champagne King. Okay, I want to be poor like that then. Give me that kind of poor so I can have a casino and bring in groups and make them know they're fine.
I understand your point, but I think what's actually happening is that a small group of them have benefited. But when you look at them as a whole, they really are the poorest racial group in the country. I don't think you could really debate that.
And here's another thing. A lot of the people that's classified now as Native American are really white people. And they're not that poor. You have a lot of white people with Indian cards now. White people ran a finesse game in the early 1900s when they had something called the Dawes Rolls, where it was an Indian census. They had to bring the people in to get on the Indian roll to allot land to them. White people said, oh, you're giving away free land, and they got $5 and gave people $5 under the table and said, hey, list me as a Cherokee. And that's the term $5 Indian, meaning a fake Indian. So a lot of white people started pretending to be Native American. That was a real big thing in the early 1900s. You remember the Crying Indian, that commercial in the 70s? It was an Indian talking about pollution, and there was a tear going down his eye. Yeah, there was a very popular commercial.
I remember,
You remember that, Big? Remember that? Very popular commercial. That was a guy named Iron Irish Cody. He was a big actor in the 1940s and 50s, big Native American representative. Turned out he wasn't even Native American at all. His ass is Sicilian. He was a Sicilian immigrant. So that's been a finesse game for a long time, white people pretending to be Native American to get all types of benefits and resources from it. So as far as us as foundational Black Americans, we're talking about the template of how they're paying the Native Americans the reparations they're supposed to give them. We're not going to squander the money. We're not going to let that money get screwed off. we're going to do phenomenal things. And I think we will stimulate the economy with reparations checks.